Hello, thanks for calling by. I've just put together here a collection of some of the studies or lessons that I've attempted this year. And it's always fun to look back on the variety actually and over the span of time that passes by. I've been very preoccupied this year, so there aren't very many pieces. But really, two people have asked me about Chinese art this year, seriously, and I've tried to explain how to view Chinese art according to how I've been taught. And the Western way is to look at a painting of a tree and say, it's not a very good painting of a tree, it doesn't look much like a tree. Or they look at a horse and they say, well, it doesn't much look like a horse, I don't really like that. The way I've been taught to look at Chinese art, at least spontaneous art, is to see the subject that the artist has painted and appreciate the Schuan paper and the brushes and the ink and how that all works and what he had to do or what she had to do in order to control that on the paper and get the resulting image that they did, so I can appreciate the hard work that goes into it and the time and the skill and the enjoyment and satisfaction of achieving that with a degree of control. But moreover, I've been taught to try and enjoy the enthusiasm and the spirit of the artist and try to detect from the style of painting how they felt when they painted it, how they felt when they saw the subject, and why they felt so inspired to try and recreate it on paper to show me, as opposed to looking at it and saying, it doesn't look much like a tree. Instead, I've learned to look at it and say, I can understand why they did that. And I can also enjoy with them the acquired ability through trial and testing to create that mark on the paper. Even if the tree just consists of 3 lines, I can understand why they find satisfaction in representing the tree they saw within those 3 strokes, however they manifest. It's a peculiar thing. It's difficult to snap out of. You'd also notice towards my later work, in not always, but sometimes, the paintings that I do, the videos, I do an incredible close-up. And it's peculiar. Sometimes I do a real close-up so that you see nothing more than the top of the head of the bird, or just 3 toes, or a piece of a leaf on a branch, and you're right down to the fibres of the paper. Well, it's impossible to see the picture with any degree of quality at that distance, macro level. But the reason I do this is because I personally enjoy seeing the way the ink has run along the fibres of the paper, or the way the ink lays on the paper, whether it's been painted wet style or dry style. And I like to see the simple strokes that have been used, maybe 7 or 8, and yet when you actually look at them collectively, you've got a bird there with the eye and the sunshine in the eye and the beak and the feathers, and just in as few strokes as I can possibly manage. I enjoy that, and I try and show that in my videos in the hope that other people can kind of sense where I'm coming from, where I'm going to, and the struggle I'm going through trying to understand this and learn it, because I'm Western. I've never painted Western style in my life. I've only ever done Chinese, and then only for 2 years. So I really am a child in this art sphere. I know very little, but I am learning the philosophies and learning how it all ties together so that you end up with an appreciable result, which isn't just what does it look like, how does it compare to the original. It's more, will people enjoy as much as I did the creation of this painting? Can they see my enthusiasm by the style and the way I paint it? And is my spirit affecting them through the paper? The Western manner is very critical in looking at it and saying it doesn't look exactly like the real thing. And only now I'm beginning to tire of that. And so it is a very private affair when you're studying the Chinese arts. And when you look at other paintings, you can find yourself looking at the edge of a bamboo leaf and seeing the way that paint ran along the fibers, trying to work out, was it painted on damp paper, is the paper sized, or is it like the beautiful old Schuhen paper, where the paint just leaps through the fibers and you need an awful lot of control to actually get the paint to do what you need it to do to form the shapes you need to create your subject, and so on and so on and so on. It's a lot more, not intense because it's a very meditative process. It's a lot more, I'm just trying to find a way of, you see, I'm making comparisons with what I imagine to be the Western style. The reason I took up photography is because I couldn't stand the idea of spending 3 weeks creating a painting that looks like a photograph. It made no sense to me whatsoever. But with the Chinese method that I use, the spontaneous art, like Chao Shaoan, Yang Oshi, their styles, it is a more a meditative, spiritual approach, where you're actually enjoying the way the paint lays on the paper, the act itself of mixing and blending the paper and using the brushes and appreciating the work that went into a handmade goat, wolf and sea slug hair paintbrush, and the layers and the tension in the bristles and so on. It's the inkstones, the beautiful carvings on the inkstones, the seal stones and the skill it takes to create those. The whole process, even before you've started painting, the desk with the inkstone, the beautiful ink sticks, the fantastically created brushes, the paperweights, the porcelain, everything is incredibly artistic and beautiful, even before you've started painting. And then of course you create this painting on this very thin tissue-like paper. Anyway, passing thoughts, and these are some of the works that I've done. I'm just transferring all my bits and pieces over to American servers, because England is charging far too much at the moment. So I hope you like what you see anyway, and that really is where I'm coming from with Chinese art and the way I see Chinese painting. There are very few people in Europe, especially England, who are into the Chinese arts. Very, very, very few. 1 in 10,000 might know what an inkstone is, let alone actually use one. Anyway, thank you for calling by, and I really hope you like what you see and what's to come. Bye-bye now.
Thank you.